Hello, my babies. It is Saturday, the, 13th of October. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and as promised, here comes a Hang With Me video. You're hanging with a lady with a black eye today. If you want details on why I have a black eye, watch my last Stitch With Me video. I'm okay. It was cat-inflicted, but accidental. Nobody meant it. So, hey, I just spent the morning packing orders, and then I had to go do some shopping. And I ran to the frame shop. I ran some things to the thrift store, some donations. Here's Zero. Zero says hi. Say hello. Where else did I go? The post office to drop off the things I packed. So I had a lot of running to do. And of course, why do I save it until Saturday? Saturday is like the worst day to run errands because everybody else is running errands. But I guess when in Rome. So I thought, for Hang With Me today, I've got some stitching I've got to do. I'm going to the Midwest Stitchers Retreat next weekend, and I still have to finish my small. And I thought I was going to do one thing, but then when I worked on it, I was like, oh, they may not appreciate this. Maybe I'll go get it and show you, and you can see what you think. Okay, I'm going to put the cat down. You know, not everybody has the same kind of sense of, I don't even want to say sense of humor. I guess I didn't want anybody to take it the wrong way. What it was, it's a Not Forgotten Farm piece that I had started a while back, and I thought I kind of had a good idea for to do the finishing for this, but I think honestly I like it, and it's probably something that I'll end up keeping. Oops, I just pulled the needle right out of there. So I had started it, and I thought, well, since I had a start on it, maybe needle in the mouth. Don't do it. Here's where it is. It's over 1. And it's a Not Forgotten Farm piece. I started it on kind of a big piece of fabric. It's 29 count hand-dyed Glenshee, which you can't get anymore. If any of you have 29 count Glenshee, especially hand-dyed, that you don't think you'll ever use, I love it. I would love to buy it from you if you have some. Zero says, remember when you picked me up before? Yes, I do. Mwah. So anyway, this piece, let's see, I'm going to pop a picture of this piece up here. I don't know where the cover of the piece is. I have the guts of the chart, and okay, he loves to be held upside down like a baby. So if I don't hold him upside down like a baby, he's like, why aren't you holding me upside down like a baby? So anyway, it has kind of a morbid, here's the picture. It has kind of a morbid, like there's a lady in a casket at the bottom and a snake, and it's about decaying in the ground and stuff. So I was working on it, and the top part, of course, is like really cute, and it's kind of fall. It's got like kind of witch ingredients, mandrake and catnip and nettle. And I kind of liked the vibe for fall because that's kind of what we were supposed to do. But then, like I said, I was like, oh, because sometimes I don't know, it's hard to know what to make for a retreat. I think a lot of people would like it, but if it just kind of ended up in, I wouldn't want somebody to get it and think, oh, this is kind of creepy and weird, and I don't know how I feel about this. But I was going to make it into like not an etui, like a housewife, like a roll with pockets on the inside. But I think I'll do that for myself. My eye still hurts. I think I'll do that for myself at some point. So I did have fun working on it a little bit. Over 1 takes a little bit longer, but I kind of dread it, and I'm like, why did I start this over 1? But then I see it, and I'm like, oh, that's why I started it over 1. So do a little at a time, and then that seems to be real good. So the thing that I actually decided to make was, where is it? Well, it's in a book. Here it is. Okay. It's a piece by Barbara and Alma. This book is called A Schoolgirl's Work. And it's not available anymore. It's out of print. It's really one of my favorite books of theirs, and it doesn't necessarily have a ton of like bigger designs. It's got kind of smaller designs inside, but it's got lots of, it's a collection of samplers. And so it's kind of information about the samplers with beautiful photography and just kind of comments and things. I'm holding this slightly off screen. So it's really just a cool book, and it's big. It's like 104 pages. But then in the, they have some projects. They don't reproduce any of them, which I would have Some of these I really would have loved to have seen the reproduction, but it's okay. So I don't want to show the chart, but this is a little piece I started during Stitch Mania, and I think it will make a perfect, I haven't decided yet. I'm kind of thinking about making like a needle case where it's kind of like a checkbook cover style, where I put like maybe some, not cardstock, but like, maybe not cereal box, but that kind of, I've got things that I use when I pack my charts that's like a stiffer, it's not cardboard, but it's like a stiffer paper. That's my idea. And then to like tie it closed with some silk ribbon or something, I think that might be really neat. And it's not super big. I meant to take a piece with me to Seattle when I went. And, you know, I had just gotten back from Galleria, so I was tired and I was sick. And I tried to like get my website back in order, pack a bunch of orders, you know, deal with a whole bunch of other business things and family things too, because I came back after a week, so there was grocery shopping to be done and all that kind of thing, and the cats were lonely and blah, blah, blah. So when I packed to go to Seattle, I was like, I don't have time to decide what I'm doing for my exchange. So I took a couple of other things that I did work on here and there. I didn't really get a lot of stitching done when I was babysitting with 4 boys, but that's fine. So where I am with this so far, I know a lot of you like Zero. He really is a baby, and he just loves, I mean, he's just purring like crazy right now. He loves to be held. He's very, very sweet. But sometimes I love him. Sometimes it's not the most convenient moment to be trying to hold a cat upside down. So this is where I'm at so far. It's very cute. I had started it on, I think, the fabric that it called for, which was Pear by Lakeside Linens. And it just wasn't showing up very nicely. So then I was like kind of dissatisfied with my choice of fabric, you know, because it just, every batch of hand-dyed linen is different. It was a lovely piece of fabric. It's just that the threads that it called for on my piece weren't showing up very well. So I restarted it. This was just a scrap of something I had. I think it's hand-dyed. I don't know. I have a big envelope with a zipper that anytime I end up with little bits and scraps of linen, it all goes in there. And then that way, when I want to do like an ornament or kind of a quick little project, I can just kind of sort through there rather than cutting into a larger piece of linen. Handy tip from your Uncle Lair. So I'm going to sit and stitch on this while I chat with you guys. I went ahead and made a cardstock copy of that page of the book because it's one of the, okay, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to put my feet up, and I've got some water in my jug here. So here we go. One of the downs, I love the books with the, you know, the bound books and everything, but one of the problems can be that, let's see if we can tone this down a little bit. One of the problems can end up being that it's hard to, like, you know, it's just like cookbooks. Sometimes you can't get a cookbook to stay open all the way and you're trying to use it. So I kind of have toyed with the idea of taking it to Kinko's and having it spiral bound, because you can take it in, they basically spiral bind it, but they trim off the edge, the very, very edge first. Then you can like fold it on itself. I used to do that when I took piano lessons. I would take my piano books, because there again, you get piano books and they're bound like that with a kind of a square edge. You can't, you know, no matter how many times you kind of fold it and beat it on itself, it just doesn't want to stay open, and they really need it to kind of stay open. So I have stitched the alphabet on this so far. I love stitching alphabets. I don't know why. I think they go pretty fast, and they're pretty predictable. If you do a good bit of stitching, if you do a good bit of stitching, you can kind of like look at a letter and go, oh yeah, that's how you do it. No, 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 no. No, if you do that, you can't sit with me. Just relax. So it seems like you can make progress pretty quickly. Oh, darn it. Zero, you goofed me up. All right. That's all right. we're going to fix it. I heard a lot about this pin stitch lately, and I think it's pretty cool. You can't do that. You can't do that. I need to try it. I'm sure I've learned it at different points. But basically, the pin stitch keeps your stitching, especially like if you're stitching, things like letters and you want the threads not to show in the back. The pin stitch will help your threads stay in place. I always leave like a 1/2 inch tail and then I just stitch over it on the back. That's just, I don't know. It's, you have bad habits or just habits. I shouldn't call it a bad habit. It's just a habit. And when I learned how to stitch, nobody was teaching me. I had some kits, probably from Ben Franklin or wherever. And they came with kind of some rudimentary instructions. And I would read the instructions. But, some of the things that we just kind of take for granted weren't necessarily listed there as instructions. I know, just relax. So I did hear at some point after I started stitching that people said, oh, don't tie a knot on the back because it'll make your piece look lumpy. And it's kind of funny now because really, it's probably not going to look that lumpy. Not any lumpier than it would be, I don't think. But I don't do knots. So I think that's when that started, is that somebody had told me don't do knots. And so then I was like, well, if I just hold a little piece on the back and then stitch over it, you can't. Just go to sleep or something. So I've been doing that for 40 years. It's kind of crazy. I was in the car today and I kind of flipped through. I have a 6 CD changer in my car that I don't often change the CDs out. And it's fall, and there are certain musicians I like to listen to in the fall. I love Sting in the fall. Norah Jones is great in the fall. I love John Mayer in the fall, especially his blues. A little Vivaldi is nice in the fall. There are just different kinds of music that to me are more fall types of music, and so I kind of have just a weird mix of things in the car right now. So after I had stopped, I went through the CDs I had in my car and I brought them inside, so I'm going to switch those out. But one of the CDs that was in there was Hall & Oates. And I don't know if y'all know, but I am a huge Hall & Oates fan. I was telling my son, Graham, today, and it was Daryl Hall's birthday this week. He turned 72 years old, which is pretty up there, and he still looks awesome. His hair, I'm going to put a picture of his hair here. His hair has always looked great. And he just hasn't lost like a shred of it, or he's had some very good wigs made. I don't know. I think it's probably his hair. Oh, but I had the biggest crush on Daryl Hall. And I was like 11, 12, 13 years old, and it was right in their prime. Like Private Eyes, You've Lost That Love and Feeling, Rich Girl, that was in the 70s. But my cousin Darcy and I totally were into Hall & Oates, and we would draw pictures of them, and I had posters everywhere. And I just was crazy about Hall & Oates. And so I found this CD in my car today, which is, they had a 3 CD set come out a few years back of the kind of their greatest hits, but also like kind of the songs that they were proud of, So sometimes it was things that maybe weren't super popular, but I know them all because I actually wore out some of my Hall & Oates cassette tapes where they just, I wore them out. You'd put it in and it would go and it wouldn't sound like anything. And so I have this CD set in the car, so I was singing along today. It was awesome. Why was I talking about that? Fall CDs. So that one I think is going to stay in, but I honestly don't know the last time I changed out the CDs in my car. I'm not really one, I've never super caught on to the idea of downloading music. To my knowledge, I have never downloaded a song without paying for it. I have downloaded some music through iTunes, especially Christmas songs. But I like, and I'm probably one of those old school people that, I'll be dead and gone and people will have moved on, but I just like having a tangible product. And it feels like when you download something, it's not a thing. Like it's not, you can't see it, touch it, smell it, take it. You can take it places. You can put it on your different devices. But, I change computers and I get new phones and things. And it's like, do I really want to move that stuff all the time? Like, and what happens if my device fails? Is my music just gone? And I'm sure there's some cloud somewhere that you can put your music into. I'm just a crabby old lady when it comes to music, I guess. So I'm not super keen on downloading. So what I got to do is, I think I'm going to go through like our CDs and pull out everything that's mine. Things that were gifts to me or the musicians I like, which is a pretty narrow selection. I have a pretty open mind. But the ones I like everything. Like James Taylor. I already talked about Sting, but everything he does I think is amazing. And so anyway, I'm going to take out my CDs. I'm still trying to go through things here at the house and donate stuff that I don't want, need, use, whatever, because we just need to pare down. We moved here 13 years ago from Fargo, North Dakota. And a move is a great opportunity to pare down. Because you're like, okay, we're going to actually pay people to come in here and lift boxes full of our things and move them across the country. How much of this stuff do we really need? But we've been here longer than we've been anywhere. I mean, really, this house I've lived in the longest of any house in my life. Which is, I'm just realizing now that's kind of weird. Because in, childhood we moved a few times. So you just tend to accumulate things. And I think sometimes it's hard to want to give things up. Because not only because you enjoy, you like them maybe or whatever, but sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to get rid of that because Bob gave it to me. But it's like, Bob probably doesn't even remember he gave it to you. Don't hang on to it for his sake. Like, he gave it to you and he hasn't thought about it since, probably. But, we think, like, our things are attached to memories sometimes, which I think makes it hard for people to get rid of stuff. Because it's like, if I get rid of the item, then I don't have the memory. But I'm not super attached to things. So it's not a problem for me to get rid of things at all. I'm not saying that it is. It's just sometimes you just don't take the time and energy to do it, to go through your closet, to go through, your belongings, your games, your, like I said, your music, your movies, and even sometimes you hang on to, like, especially like kitchen items, things that maybe are sort of kind of broken, don't really work that great anymore. You don't use them a lot necessarily. So you hang on to them, though, because it's like, well, this is sort of still usable, and maybe it is. But really, if my house burned down, and all my cats were okay, and my family was okay, the only things that I would be sad about would be, like, probably, like, my needlework, obviously. Like, my antiques and the needlework I've done and that had gifted to me, and family pictures. But even the family pictures, a lot of those are replaceable because we have other families and, we disperse and share and things. And so it's all just stuff. Like, if I go, none of this means anything to anybody except me. And so, I don't know. That's kind of a morbid, this is getting a little bit off into October, like dim. Back to the grave, I guess. 5. So anyway, it's good to clean out, though. I think it's healthy. And sometimes you find things that you're like, oh, dang, I forgot I had this. Just like my Hall & Oates CD today. I was like, oh, this is in the car? And I totally rocked out. Totally rocked out. And I do that, you know, when I'm in the car. I'm not stitching very quickly because I'm kind of gabbing. That's all right. When I sing in the car, I sing with my entire heart and being. I sing, like, my facial expressions are as if I was being filmed for a music video. Like, it's dramatic how I sing in the car. And occasionally someone will say, I saw you driving today, and I'll be like, oh, what was I doing? They were like, you were singing. You were singing. You were definitely singing. And that's fine. I think it's good to sing. Music to me is, you know, I think about it sometimes. It's so interesting because I think most people, if you said, you know, what kind of music do you like, or do you like music? Most people, I think, would say yes, or that they have music that they like to listen to that speaks to them. And, you know, like I said, I've been listening to Hall & Oates for 40 years almost. More than 40 years if you count, like, you know, when I was younger and before I was really a huge fan. And yes, I still love it. Like, why do I love it? Why do I love it? I don't know. I don't know. But music is like mathematical because it's all, you know, ratios and degrees. You know, you take it's just vibrations. Artistic vibrations is what music is. Maybe artistic vibrations, if I start a band, that's what we're going to be called. Here comes the artistic vibrations. But I wonder what it is like in human beings that music is, you know, it's what we do like in our off time. You go to work, you cook, whatever. But like music will take you back. Like music is tied to memories and feelings. And songs can make us cry, and songs can make us laugh. And songs can make us jam out in the car in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, like a crazy fool. I don't know. And music is just so personal because all of us have just different likes and dislikes. I'm maybe not so much anymore. I think I'm more open to music than I used to be. But I used to be where I would be like, someone would be like, oh, hey, listen to this. And I would say, you know, like, oh, that's weird. I don't like that. That's unpleasant to me. And I would like be very like, I do not like that at all. That's not even music. Like one of them that I remember was the band Outkast and their song Hey Ya. Shake it like a Polaroid picture. And I hated that song. I super hated it. It's an awesome song. I like it now. But my initial reaction was that it was terrible and it wasn't even really music. So I'm either all in or all out. This is going to be really cute. Sometimes when you make a gift for somebody, you're a tiny bit sad that you're going to give it away. Because and then like I think, okay, well, I like this. I hope somebody else likes it because I'm making it for someone and I don't even know who it is yet because we're doing an exchange. And I hope that person likes it. And it could be a he or a she because I think Ginger Gerald is going to be at the retreat. So maybe it'll go to Ginger Gerald. Maybe he'll get this and maybe I'll get his fantastic King Henry over one. I hope he brings it. But I hope he doesn't bring it. Have you seen Ginger Gerald's? If I can find a picture, I'm going to put it over there of Ginger Gerald's King Henry piece. I love reading about King Henry's court and his wives and the art of that period and just the architecture. Like, it was such an interesting time in history. And that painting, I believe, was painted by Hans Holbein, who actually is important to us needleworkers because he had such an eye for detail and So he painted, a lot of the clothes that they wore would be decorated with black work, embroidery, and other types of stitching. And his paintings are photographic nearly, where you can see the threads and the detail and the laces and things. And so his paintings are a great resource for people who want to study needlework of that era, because it's long enough ago that a lot of those textiles have disintegrated and are not studyable anymore because they don't exist. Pat Evans at Lakeside Linens, actually one of her cats is named Holbein, I believe, which is cool. I'd love to get a book of Hans Holbein's paintings. There's one I think I have on my Amazon wish list, but I think it's an out of print one and it looks fabulous, but it's really expensive. Okay, so I jumped on a horse and rode off somewhere. So what I'm saying is, here's what I'm saying, people. This is what I'm saying. In my mind, here's my dream. My dream is that Ginger Gerald will come to the retreat and our paths will cross, and he will get my meek and humble offering of this tiny basket made into a needle book with a piece of silk ribbon, perhaps. Maybe even with a few needles tucked inside for good luck. And he will have felt a generous leap in his heart. And he's finished his King Henry needlework that he's doing over one, I think. Like, it's, people, we talk about things, like, is our work going to end up in a museum ever? That will. His King Henry, if that is not in a museum someday, the world is not fair. Because that should be. It's beautiful. Okay, so I'm going on with my dream. Here's my dream. Ginger Gerald brings King Henry VIII, and he's felt a generous leap in his heart. And he said, you know what? The joy is not in keeping, it is in giving. And I would love for someone to have King Henry, which I've made into a giant needlework accessory of some sort. I don't know. Maybe like a cabinet for thread. And he will get my meek and humble offering, and I will get his amazing offering. And I'll cry tears of joy. And he'll cry tears of joy, too, because he'll be so moved by Gerald, here's what's really going to happen. If Gerald brings his King Henry the VIII piece to the Midwest Stitchers Retreat, I'm going to want it. And thank goodness, I can stitch faster now. I'm going to want it because it's amazing. And I'm going to be like, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. Like, I stitch. I know how to make cross stitches. And I'm going to do something crazy, like go to the Haid website and get the chart and start it and then be like, this is full of confetti stitching. I don't know. Now I don't know what I want to happen. I guess I kind of hope he brings it. Because I would like to see it. I would like to see it and give him a hearty pat on the back. And if he does bring it, I guarantee you I will get that chart somehow. That would be neat. I haven't wanted to... There have been a few Haid pieces that... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There have been a few Haid pieces that I... have liked, and I've seen, like, there's another, what's the name of that company? The Scarlet, not the Scarlet Letter, not Mouton Rouge. If I think of it, I'm going to put a link I'm going to, like, down here, I'm going to put, there's another company that does those, like, famous paintings, like Waterhouse, and I think they've got some Van Goghs. And I love Vincent van Gogh. And really, if I do a Haid or I do one of these other reproductions of famous paintings, I should really do a Van Gogh because I just love Vincent. And King Henry was a terrible person. He was a terrible person. And it's weird because I think he kind of started off, if you read about him, and maybe I'm totally wrong on this, but I've watched a fair number of documentaries and I've read a few books, and it seems like he was actually kind of like a jolly, happy person. and very likable and very generous. Like his advisors would sometimes get angry with him because he would be a little bit too giving or too lenient. And then he got married, and I watched a few documentaries about like his injuries and illnesses, and I think he got so that he had a horrible fall from a horse once. He loved to joust, and they said that he had the most beautiful calves, and so he wore clothing that showed off his calves. And you can see that in the Holbein piece. He's got his calves being shown off, and a big old cod piece, because you got to show everything off. But he loved to joust, and I guess he played like a game kind of like tennis or something, and they said that no one could beat him. Like, he was a sportsman. But he fell off this horse one day, and the horse ended up on top of him. And it like did damage, you know, and some of it never really healed properly, and he was actually knocked unconscious for the better part of a day, I think, where he just was unconscious. And so they surmised that perhaps, you know, King Henry had some kind of a brain injury, and they said that just after that accident that he just changed. And, you know, I think he probably had kind of, you know, chronic painful conditions. They said his leg never healed properly. And so towards the end of his life, it just festered. Like, it was a festering wound that just would never heal. See, I forgot already, because I'm talking about festering wounds. This is the kind of entertainment you're here for, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so he had this festering wound on his leg that would never heal, and they used to do, it's like they pick at it all the time. They're like, you know what, let's throw some leeches on there and see what happens. And I know they still use leeches, but they just would do weird things, like bloodletting, where they would just like get this little brass tool and like poke a bunch of holes in you just to let the bad blood out. They didn't know what they were doing. But anyway, I think they didn't ever really treat his leg properly, so it was always just weepy, oozy, probably infected. It's a miracle he lived as long as he did. And they said that you could smell him coming from like several rooms away, because it was just like, his leg was just bad, super bad. So where was I going with that? Oh, so anyway, if I'm going to stitch a hate ever, you know, Vincent van Gogh wasn't a perfect person either, but I think he was kind of lovely in a lot of ways. I think he had a good soul. I think he really just wanted to make beautiful art and make people happy. And he had struggles, you know. And I think if I did one, I would love to do one of his self-portraits, because I think they're amazing. So I don't know. I mean, I think if Ginger Gerald does... Why am I talking about Ginger Gerald? Ginger Gerald. I hope he does bring his piece, because I think it would be fun to see it. And I think it would be inspiring to see it, and motivating to want to try one of those pieces. I've never tried... I'm trying to think if I've done any, like, realistic pictures. I have... not really like those. I've done a few, you know, with confetti stitching, but nothing definitely of that scale. I think I would definitely not do it over one, because over one looks beautiful, but it takes, I can't use the sewing method when I stitch over one. It just doesn't look good. So I guess, you know, you could do it in silk gauze, but it gets hard to count when you're doing all that confetti stitching. So I think I would do it like on a 40 count over 2, and I think it would still be amazing. So I think I could do that. Maybe I'm talking myself into this, people. Maybe I'm talking myself into it. But Van Gogh has a lot of other beautiful art. I love his poplar trees and his florals, and he did a lot of really neat self-portraits, and also just pictures of people that were in his life. So some of those would be neat too, I think. I'm maybe talking myself into doing one of these crazy pieces. Should I scooch this over one? I made a mistake on the border. Don't tell the person who receives this. It's going to look fine. Actually, I made a mistake in that I corrected the mistakes that were built into the piece. I'd sometimes just like look at the pattern and I think I know where I'm going, but then I realize that they've made a couple of, stitches that are accommodations for other things. Anyway, basically the border I thought was the same all the way around when really there were a couple of little boopy-doos to accommodate the wideness of some letters. And I made the border consistent all the way around. So what I just did is moved my Z over one stitch. And there's space built in, so it's not going to be noticeable. I don't often correct my mistakes in a piece because I like to stitch forwards and not backwards. I like to be making progress. 1, 2, 3. And ripping out is just a bummer and a half. Ripping out over 1 is 2.5 bummers. Ripping out on silk gauze is 3.75 bummers. Ripping out when you have a deadline is 4 bummers. I'm trying to think if there's other kinds of ripping out. Okay, 7 bummers is when you rip out and you get done with ripping out a bunch and then you're like, oh no, wait a minute, that was right. And you just ripped out. That is 7 bummers. 7.5, 7-ish. It's in the 7 range. That's the worst kind of rip out, I feel. I'm not going to say I never rip out. I do rip out sometimes. But it kind of stinks to rip out. I'm realizing now that like this book came out in 2011. That was 7 years ago already. I think I did see it on eBay maybe recently for maybe $38 or something. I think when it came out, it was, in that $30 range, maybe $32 maybe. I wonder if it says. Let me grab the book and see if there's a price on it. It's printed by Kansas City Quilts, Kansas City Star Quilts. No, they didn't put a price on it. So it says, it's samplers from 1710 to 1841, and there are 11 projects. Like I said, this is really one of my favorite books of theirs. It's really fun to look at. Like I just take it out sometimes and just look at it. So if you can find a copy on eBay or, I bet there are shops that have these because honestly, I ordered these in for my shop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. It didn't sell as well as a lot of their other books. I remember, I think I ordered it in once or twice, but by then, that was kind of dried up the interest that was in it. Some of their other books they've actually had reprinted, and I doubt this one has gone for a reprinting. Like I said, even though it's such a great quality book. All it's going to take is for some floss tuber to, stitch something and everybody's going to go, I have to have that. So Barb and Alma, if you're listening, people might love this book. It's been 7 years since you printed it. But like I said, it wasn't a super popular. It wasn't as popular as some of their other books, which I thought was a shame because it really is quite lovely. And so there's probably, there are probably stores that still have this lurking on their shelves. So, if you have a local store and you're interested, I would definitely check with them and see if they've got one. Because it's well worth the price. And I'm sure they printed quite a few of these. I would not be interested in selling mine or giving mine away because, like I said, I really enjoy it. I think I have most of their books that they've come out with. The one that I missed that I got in for the store, and now I have it because I was like, why did I... is the one called Sisters, and I'm going to pull it out. Let's do a quick flip through because this is a hang with me. So we're hanging hard. Okay. So this is on my website. Look at that eye. That's a pretty good eye. Okay, so this is the book here, Sisters. And I remember seeing it at the market that it was at. And for some reason I was like, it's not my favorite. I think I maybe just looked at the cover. For some reason, I was not interested, which that's dumb because everything Barb and Alma do is amazing. So I got it in for my shop because I was, just looking for things. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that book. But then I opened it and I was like, what? So I'm going to try not to show you any of the charts. This one is, let me see if I can find out what the price is on this one. Hold, please. I like that from Pam and Steph. They do hold, please. And it's funny because right now I have another window open in my on my computer, so I can't see myself. And so it feels like I'm hiding from you, but I think I'm still being filmed. It just feels like I'm hiding. Okay, so let's do, okay, Sisters. Just looking to see what the price is. What's the price on Sisters? $29. Okay. It's a great little book. All right, I only have one right now, but I'm going to order some more this weekend, and I'll have them in a couple days. So this is the one I've got, $29. So here's what you get. Here, let's flick this off. I don't know if this light's really helping today. Okay. All right, now it's dimmer. Now we feel like we're whispering. Okay, so there's this pretty sampler here that's got the pretty Quaker stars. Oop-a-doo. And then there's this one. At first cock crow, the ghosts must go back to their quiet graves below. And it has kind of a cute little moon there. Okay, so that's those two pieces. It's got 5 pieces in it for $29. So that's $6 a piece, roughly. Less than 6. Okay, A Shields 1824. So this little reproduction is in there. See, now I feel like it's not light enough. Nope. Okay, there's that reproduction, which is neat. And then there's the 2 on the cover. H Shields. Oh, H Shields, and then here's H Shields 1823. That's why it's called Sisters. So there's this reproduction in there too, which is really neat. So that's why it's called Sisters. I never really realized that until just now. So that's 4 of the pieces. And then this is the one that I was like, oh, I don't remember that one. Peace and Plenty. A Christmas Blessing. That's really pretty. I like this there. I like this here. That one is stitched on, designed by Barb Adams, stitched by Wendy Steen. The center tree in the 2 Sisters samplers made Barb think of Christmas. Once she charted the tree, the baskets followed, and Peace and Plenty is the result. So it's stitched in sampler threads on 30 count sheep straw by R&R. But so you could just use something coffee or tea dyed. So anyway, you get those 5 pieces in this book. So it's still available. I think it's a great one. But I think that was the only one I kind of was a holdout on. Where did I put my stuff? Where did I put my stuff, people? Ugh. Well, here's this. Okay. So what were we talking about? This is how my mind works. It just goes... Everything is connected, people. Everything is connected. Music is connected to stinky gangrene legs, which is connected to pieces of needlework pieces about witches, which is connected to the thigh bone. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm kind of color finishing on this one. I don't often do it that way, you know, where you just finish all of a color. But this is such a small little piece that, why not do it that way? I wonder if I could, this is Grumpy. I don't know if I've ever introduced you to Grumpy. She's not really grumpy. Oh yeah, I have introduced you to Grumpy. She's very sweet. Okay, so I'm color finishing on this one, which just means I'm stitching everything that's in this particular color first, which is Stepping Stones by Classic Colorworks. It's kind of a pretty little color. It's just a little taupey color. So then I'll just go through and finish each color, and then it'll feel like I'm making really cool progress. I think I have some Dames of the Needle velvet, you know, like hand-dyed velvet. I just can't see that anymore. That's just so sad. Thank goodness for glasses. But velvet might be kind of cool because they're supposed to be kind of fallish. And I kind of thought it would be cool to add like some, like, I don't know, like pieces of hardware. I'm thinking like washers or something. I don't know. I like it when they're like little thread rings, but maybe I could like spray paint them so that they were, you know, not metal colored, but that they like matched one of the thread colors. Might be kind of cool. I wanted to do something amazing. This is very cute, and it's going to be, I think whoever gets it, I hope they will enjoy it. It will definitely be something that I enjoy, you know, finishing and looking at and remembering fondly. I wanted to do something super, you know, because I saw what Farm Girl is working on. Hers is going to be the best one. I say I'm not competitive, but sometimes I am a little bit. Not that I want to, I just want people to like what I made, I guess is all. And we all do. We all do. So I'm stitching the year on there, which is cool. I thought about putting, you know, like Midwest Stitchers Retreat on it somewhere, but I don't think I will. And then I also thought about making my initials on this TV in a different color, just to highlight who made it. You know, it was kind of like a little thing. That would have probably been cool. But I didn't do that. And I just made the T. And I made the V earlier yesterday, so. Oh well, next time. I'll get, you know, maybe I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I definitely will when I get this finished. I've got to do some finishing tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be like a finishing day. I'm going to make homemade chicken soup with homemade noodles. And so I will take video of how this turns out so y'all can see it on my next Stitchy Tube. I'll just insert a little video so you can see. Because I don't know that I'm going to be able to make any other videos before I leave on Thursday. We leave at 4. It's going to seem like such a quick weekend. Jen from Jen's Stitching Niche has to work. And so she couldn't leave earlier than we're leaving. So we're going to get in at 10 o'clock at night on Thursday and then leave Sunday. So it is going to just, the time is going to just blaze by. I'm wondering if I can stay up for 48 hours. Just sleep on the plane. I'll sleep. But I think I really am going to try to stay up late and have fun. Because people are going to be there. Sue's going to be there, which is going to be fun to see her. And I did get to meet Farm Girl at Galleria, and she's very funny and smart. I like her. And I'll get to meet Bendy Stitchy, and I'll get to meet Suzette, and I'll get to meet Joe from Pretty Southern, and I'll get to meet Carol, and the Saltbox Stitcher, so that is cool. And so it's just, there's going to be like not enough hours to talk to all the people I want to talk to because there's 75 people there. And I don't even have 75 hours there. So how am I going to, I don't know. I'm going to have to, I don't know, prioritize, I guess. I want to talk to everybody. Farm Girl asked me if I wanted to do like a trunk show. And I thought about it. I've done them at retreats in the past. I have had a crazy busy few, you know, really since I quit my job in March and started my business back up. You know, the other day I was like, man, I really haven't released very many designs. I need to, you know, I need to devote days each week to just designing, and I need to I have people willing to stitch models that are just waiting. And I was like, what have you been doing with your time? Well, I built a website. I started dyeing fabric. I pack my own charts. I stitch my own models. I started a zine that I've already published one copy. I went to a show. I've done several trunk shows. I went and babysat my nephews for a week just now. I have not been sitting on my butt. Plus, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And so I've spent a lot of that time doing things, but feeling pretty crappy. We can be so hard on ourselves, I think, you know. We expect a lot of ourselves. And I think sometimes, you know, like we expect things of ourselves that we wouldn't expect of other people. You know, if somebody said, like, just what I told you, like if I had a friend that just did what I told you and that, you know, they had also not been feeling well, I would be like, geez, you need to take a couple of days every week to just recuperate and rest and things. But somehow, like, when it's yourself, you're just harder on yourself, I think, than you would be on a friend. So we need to be more friendly to ourselves, maybe. You know, treat ourselves like we would treat our friends. Because, you know, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, which is great advice. I think the world would be a much better place if everybody lived as much of their life as they could to fulfill that idea. But I think sometimes, ironically, we do treat our neighbors better than we treat ourselves. You know, it's love your neighbor as yourself, but also love yourself, you know. Love yourself. I have a little piece here, I think, that says love yourself. I wonder where it is. Would it be weird if I went in the other room to grab it? I think I know where it is. I'm going to go get it. I'll be right back. Enjoy a peaceful moment. It's going to take me just a second. All right, I'm back. I want this to have a hang with me vibe, which I could totally pause it and like edit out me leaving the room, but I want it to feel like we're hanging out. This is a silk gauze piece that I stitched. Oh, it's got a cat hair on it. Love Thyself. I stitched that in 2002. That was already 16 years ago. This is a Marine Appleton piece. It's her little kits like this come with the silk gauze and the silks. And I actually learned how to stitch on silk gauze from Marine. She's very, very sweet. She's very sweet and a talented designer. And her little silk gauze kits, if you've wanted to try silk gauze, I'm going to put a link to her website below. Check her out. And you can order directly from her. You can order one of these kits, and they come. This one came with the frame, with the silk gauze, with the silks, with the needle, and like a booklet of instructions. Her instructions are extremely, extremely, extremely thorough. And she has like all these little, like a little business card and a little card with your needles stuck in, and everything is to the nines. Marine does not do anything halfway. It is done amazingly. And all the silks have a tiny little tag on them tied with cotton thread with the number stamped on it of what the thread color is. Totally great. I should carry her things. Maybe I'll get some of her stuff in. I should do that. Love Thyself. I made a mistake in this one. You can kind of tell. See how these flowers are not level with these? I made some kind of a counting error. And so this was one that I started it before 2002, and I put it down for probably 4 years. Because once I made the mistake, I was like, ugh. Because what did I say? Stitching on silk gauze is, what level was that? Or, like ripping out. -4. I don't know. It's not fun to rip out on silk gauze. It's not fun to rip out on silk gauze. So I just finished it with the mistakes right in it. And it's wonderful. It's very pretty. I have it in a little basket out there, but really, I should put it on my desk here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on my desk right now. Right there. So I can look at it. That's what I'm going to do. Grumpy, what you doing? First time I took her to the vet, I had her in her little carrier and I said, "This is Grumpy." And they went, "Oh, okay." And I was like, no. She's not actually grumpy. She's actually really nice. But it's kind of a shock that she's done as well as she has. She was a feral cat. And it is not easy to turn a feral cat into a lovely house pet. Usually because they're just so bloody scared and just uptight. They're not socialized to people. And once a kitten gets to be a certain age, it's really hard to dial that back. And she just was so open to it. She's quite a little lady. Very loving. Okay, there's 2018. Does that mean I get to change colors? Oh, no, not yet. I gotta stitch a little strand. I put a roast in the oven because I was, talking yesterday on my Stitchy Tube about fall and like what are your favorite fall things, and I talked about putting a roast in the oven. I was like, dang it, let's do that. It's still 81 here, I think, but I got a lovely roast and I got a lovely roast, and I'm just going to throw some potatoes in with it and some onion and some carrots. And a roast is a nice, easy dinner to make on a weekend. And it tastes delicious, and the leftovers are good. And why did I count like that? So we're going to have roast tonight. And I went to, I don't know if y'all have Breadsmith. Do you have Breadsmith? We, here in Hattiesburg, I like bread, which probably accounts for several of my rolls. Not my bread rolls, my flab rolls. I just love bread. And I know it's not good for you, and I know you should avoid carbs. But carbs are amazing and delicious, and I'll just buy my pants one size bigger and enjoy bread. So we have a Breadsmith, but we didn't always in Hattiesburg. And when we moved here, I had gone to Great Harvest is what we had in Fargo that I like to go to Great Harvest. So we came down here and I went to the grocery stores and, it was like Wonder Bread kind of things, like Sara Lee and the grocery store brand of bread, which nowadays it's kind of disappointing. Back in the day, grocery stores made their own bread. Like Hornbacher's, where I'm from, their bread is so good. And I think they still make theirs, but a lot of the grocery stores have moved to just getting in frozen bread and baking it, which is not the same. I don't think it's as good. And if you're going to eat bread, it's kind of like dessert. If I go somewhere, like let's say I go to a potluck, and there are desserts on the table, and there are like grocery store muffins and grocery store cakes, I don't take dessert. Because if I eat dessert, if I'm going to like put the calories into my body, I want those calories to be amazing. And it's just not worth eating kind of gross chocolate or dry cake, you know what I mean, just to eat it. I want to enjoy my dessert. And so it's the same with bread. I want to enjoy bread. So we moved here and it was grocery store bread or nothing. And there are a few bakeries in town. And I would ask people, where do you buy bread? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, bread. Like, do you have bakeries that make bread? And they said, well, we have bakeries. Like, such and such bakery. I said, do they make bread? Well, they make donuts. It's like, donuts aren't bread. Donuts are not bread. Donuts are donuts. And so really there were bakeries in town, but it was donuts and cakes and bars and cookies, which is fine. I'd much rather have, homemade. But sometimes bakeries have good things. We have good, Shipley's Donuts here is really good, but we don't make it there very often. But nobody made bread. for like the first 8 years we were here. I hardly ever even bought bread because it just was so not good. But what part should I do next? The hearts, maybe. La Tierra. What do you think, Z? Are you guarding them? There it is. These are pretty colors. Okay, so we didn't buy bread because there was no bread. But then, like 8 years in, we got a breadsmith. And breadsmith makes pretty good bread. And I do enjoy their bread. And then we got a Panera, and I also enjoy their bagels. And I got some breadsmith bread today. Where was I going with that? I don't know. I like bread. I like bread. It's, you know, there's a really cool book called, I can't remember now. If I think of it, I'll put the name there. That I think I have it, but it may be out on loan to somebody. But it's essentially about the culture of bread. And it's written very well. The lady who wrote it, 1, 2, 3, 4, under the F. It was a journalist, I believe, 2, 3, 4. And she traveled the world and then tells you about the culture of bread in those areas. And it's such an interesting book. It's not dry and academic at all. She takes you to a Wonder Bread factory. She, you know, takes you to different countries and tells you about their bread culture. Like what is it about bread in their culture? And it's such a staple for a lot of people. I really should learn to make bread. It's not something I'm good at. I think I'm good at pastry. I'm really good at pastry. So I'm good at, you know, things like pies, you know, tarts, things like that. And I make fine cookies and bars. Bread is kind of scientific, and I feel like I'm often not patient enough with my bread. You really have to be patient with bread. You have to be patient with bread because it's got to rise, and I think sometimes it's easy to want to rush it because you're like, oh, come on already, be bread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do that. This is a pretty color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hope I counted that right. I wonder if I could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even better cheaters. Like, what if I bumped from a 3 to a 3.5? I can see pretty well. They make readers in 6s now. They had them at the last Nashville market. Maybe I'll go home with some good readers from there. But I do have to go back and get prescription readers. Just these ones that I get at the store just aren't the best for me. Especially, I went back and got some at Dollar General like I had before I got my prescription ones, and I was like, oh dear, these are extremely plasticky, cheap, flimsy. But I used them for a long time. This is much browner than I thought it was going to be. I was thinking about colors earlier, just before I started making this video about, I pulled the rest of the thread colors out for this so I could sit and stitch with you, but how a lot of the colors I like now are colors I probably would have said were gross when I was much younger. You know, if I think about the stitching that I used to do, a lot of it was, you know, with more color. Not necessarily crazy colors, but just, you know, more colors of the rainbow. I do so many like browns, greens, mustard, you know, old colors like that, and I love it. I suppose it's like anything else. You age and you change, you know. I still like Pixie Stix though. I gotta get my hey Peaches, This is the guy that walked across my face the other day. I gotta get Halloween candy. And I think you can't, I don't think you can tip that over. It's full of it's water. Yeah, and it's got a lid. Oh, yeah, it's a lid. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. You ding ding. I think we totally missed Halloween last year. I had to work until 7 o'clock, or I think it was. I think I didn't get home until like 7 or 7:15, and the guys hadn't turned the house lights on, and we had 0 trick-or-treaters, so we just totally missed it. And our neighborhood is kind of aging a little bit, and so a lot of the kids that used to come around don't anymore, so we just don't get as many people. So I thought about doing something fun and just getting full-size candy bars this year. Because we were talking about, in my video, I had people share like what their favorite treats were, and everybody, first of all, like 90 people said homemade popcorn balls, that was their favorite Halloween treat. But a lot of people talked about getting the full-size candy bar, that's kind of like winning the Halloween lottery if you get a full-size one. And really, if you go to Sam's Club, you can get a box of candy bars for $15 or whatever, and honestly, I think that it would be very much plenty for as many kids as we get anymore. So that might be kind of fun to do. Or maybe I should go get old lady candies, like some butterscotch drops and some Werthers and what else would be, I don't know, like spearmint wafers and those orange slices, like the gumdroppy orange slices. That would be super funny. Some Mary Janes, some Slow Pokes, some ribbon candy. Well, I'm going to get back to work, and I'm sure you're sick of listening to me blab about weird things, but it's fun to hang with you. I do enjoy watching these kinds of videos myself. I often will just put them on and listen to them in the background, just to have company. But I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll listen to some music now. I've got to pack more orders, and I've got more things to add to my website. I really should send out a newsletter. I love my job, though. I mean, I'm super happy I don't dread any of it at all. I don't dread it. Like, I used to dread going to work. For a year and a half, I worked somewhere that I used to wake up in the morning and say, don't make me go. Please don't make me go. And I tried to have a really good attitude, and I was very smiley and happy and cheerful at my job, but then I would come home and just feel utterly spent and sad because it was not a great job for me. Oh, I'm going to show you these before I leave. So one of the things that, and I'll show you my progress too, and the piece. One of the things that I'm going to order in I think November, I'm going to call John Allison from Dovo Scissors. Grumpy thinks this is, okay, can we share? Can we share? Oh, nope, I got it. All right. One of the things that I want to start carrying again, when I used to carry in my shop, was Dovo Scissors. And I think Steph at the show asked me about, like, what scissors do you recommend? Dovo scissors I love. They come from Solingen, Germany. And they're great scissors. They're super great quality. They match well. When you snip them, they sound like, it's like that ASMR, like, I wonder if I can, here, let's do this. They just meet up. And so I have a fair number of Dovo scissors myself because I used to carry them and I love them. And I feel like ladies and gentlemen that our tools are relatively inexpensive if you think about it. If you think about doing needlework, the supplies aren't necessarily inexpensive. Silks can add up and linen can add up, and you can spend a lot of money on patterns. But a needle is like, 40 cents. And you could use the same needle I sometimes use needles that I have no business using anymore because they're like kind of bent a little and the eye is sort of closed up, but it's just like, oh no, it's still good. It's still good. So there's the needle. We all have to use needles. We're needle workers, and so the needle is integral. But I think scissors is a close second. You have to have scissors if you're going to be a needle worker. And so if you're spending 40 cents on your main tool, you can splurge a little on tool number 2, which is scissors. And Dovos aren't inexpensive, but they last and last. They come to a very fine point. So if you want to use them for cut work or really get in tight somewhere, they're beautiful. They're made with German steel, which has a reputation of just being really good quality steel. It has something to do with the way the steel in that area is formed somehow. And so a lot of cutlery comes from there. Dovo also makes really fancy hair cutting scissors for hair cutters, for barbers and whatnot. And they also make some, like nail clippers and that kind of thing too. And very, very high quality. But I mean, I've seen scissors that are $700, like jewelry quality scissors. These are not $700 scissors. They might be, $40 to $60. So I was looking in my drawer. My top drawer right there behind Grumpy's head has a bunch of my tools in it, like little clips and pins and needles and rulers and hoops and things like that, and scissors. And recently I saw I had a pair of Dovos in there that I had never used before. And I pulled them out, and the number on them is 2869 is what it says on there. And they're made of stainless steel. And here they are. So you can see, about as long as my finger. They come to a very sharp point. They're very shiny and they're very smooth. And for some reason, I'm really grooving on how silky smooth they are. They're very smooth. I think a lot of embroidery scissors you get, they have they're painted somehow, or they have grips on them, or they're shaped, where they've got, edging and frills and things. And these are just just utilitarian, super good quality, make a nice sound. And what a great pair of scissors. I love these scissors right now. I'm all into them, you might say. Some people might say they're all into things, but I'm all into these scissors just lately. Thanks for hanging with me. It's fun to chat with you, and I'm going to get back to work, like I said, and hopefully get this little piece finished up tonight so that I can do the finishing on it and a couple of other things tomorrow. So I hope you all have a great weekend, and my best to you and to yours.